Hey folks, it is, well, it's kind of dark in here, which means it's not summer anymore. So the sun's going down early. But what we're looking at here are a couple of twin dories. Um, so I'm pretty excited about these actually, which you can tell from my tone. Super excited. I get excited about a lot of things. Um, but I am excited about this. So I see a lot of dories, and I am not blowing my own horn or anything like that, but I've been working in dories for so long that I feel like I've become uh, the aficionado, the go-to, what have you. Like, I know what I'm looking at. And so it's rare that I see something that I haven't seen or something that is unusual. And when I do, I take note and I try to, I try to capture it. And so I was at a farm in Maine last year, and I saw this boat sitting in a field next to a barn, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And the reason it looks interesting is a dory, but it is short. So this is about 12 feet long, and you don't see dories, really you don't see a dory shorter than 14 feet. And that, when you see one like that's 14 feet, it's pretty rotund. A bank dory, you don't see any shorter than 16 feet with the 12-foot bottom. If you get it any shorter, it becomes incredibly tippy, and you don't want to go to seeing it. So I saw this, and I was like, I'm curious. I talked to the farmer. He said, well, here, take it. So he let me have it. I went and grabbed it. And then last week at the WoodenBoat School, we replicated it, and that's what this is. And in the course of replicating it, we produced a set of lines, like right here. So part of the class was building it, and part of the class was drawing a plan for it. So now we have a plan, and I would like to start building these. I'm even considering this winter doing a traditional boat building class where we build one of these, because it is a pretty interesting build, but it's also, at 12 feet, it's quite manageable. And also, it is proportionally and everything, it's one of the cutest dories I've ever seen, and I was dubious about it being so short, how it would handle in the water. And then at the end of the week at WoodenBoat, we put this in the water and rode it around. And it actually was incredibly stable, and it was the perfect little boat. And if you think about it, I get a lot of calls. People want a dory, but they want a short dory because they don't have the capacity to deal with a 16, 18-foot boat. They want a tender for the other boat, and this is like the perfect size for that. And so I might tweak the design a little bit because it's kind of what we do, kind of what I do. But there are a couple of things that I would adjust. But I think this is an amazing little boat. I deemed it the Peapod Dory because it sort of has the same dimensions and look as a Maine Peapod, except it's a dory. And so, yeah, really, really cool thing. And when I do build it in the future, I might actually build it with a stem at both ends, so it is a little more Peapod-like, and build it out that way, because the dory transom here isn't giving it any more stability necessarily. It's giving a little bit more boat back here, but that's about it. It is a challenging build, I would say. So when you take a design like this and you start to shorten it, what happens is the plank shapes get all kinds of funky. And so in the case of this, the garboard, the first plank, was really frown shaped. And if you were to make this out of the garboard out of a single straight edged piece of wood, it had to be like 17, 18 inches wide, which is ridiculous. And so I might tweak it to make that a little bit better and whatever. But a very cool boat, and one that I'm psyched to have seen. And to that end, if all you people out there in the universe, in the metaverse, or whatever we want to call it, come across an old dory, an old skiff, something in a barn, and you have an eye and you're like, hey, that looks interesting, let us know, because I'd like to show up and look at these things, and I like to show up and look at these things, and if they are old, they could be super interesting. You never know. It could be something that we've seen 100 times, or it could be something where you're like, wow, I've never seen anything like that. I would not expect to see a boat that I've never seen just sitting in a field in Maine, and here we are. And one of the beauties is that this cute little dory, the shape and the design and everything about it can live on as we build more. This boat's not particularly old, and one way to note that is this cap rail here is teak. So this thing's got to be from the 80s or 90s, because you would not see a teak cap rail before then. But it's really interesting. It's all half-inch cedar, so it must have been built in a boat shop where they were building, well, I don't know, building some kind of small boat. But even the seat I'm sitting on is half-inch cedar. All this planking, that's all half-inch cedar. Beetle Boat Shop, all those beetle casts and all that's half-inch cedar, and that's, you know, they get it in that dimension. So a really interesting thing. But I love this little boat.